Hello, welcome to Toffee TV, joined in the studio by Paul Nealon, big Evertonian, founder of Irish Football Fan TV as well. But we're here to talk about Goodison Park. I'm doing a little series, obviously, the time is getting ever closer that we leave Goodison Park, so we're just getting different people in and just having a little chat about their experiences at Goodison, because it is I guess, you know, without being over dramatic about it, it is almost like a life-changing moment if football's important here, that we've gone to this place all our lives, and in a few weeks it will be no more. We will be moving on to watch Everton Football Club playing at the new stadium, obviously down at the at Bromley Moor Dock. So Goodison Park, I mean, what will it mean to you? I mean, have you processed the leaving of it, if you like, or how are you looking at it as we get ever closer?
I don't know. I think it's really going to hit home. I'm over for the Ipswich game just before.
Yeah.
I know to say I haven't against the last game, so it's the second last, but it'll be my last, and I think it'll hit home more so then. But so many good memories of going over from when I was a kid. Like, we used to come over to the Irish Toffees, and it'd be my dad, my brother, my cousin, my other cousin. Sometimes our friends would come with us as well. So we had like so many of us, and we'd get to the Premier Inn. I was actually only there yesterday. We'd get to the Premier Inn in Vernon Street, and basically what would happen was, as soon as we dropped our bags, we'd be out playing on the little square. All of us, and I'm talking, there could be 100 Irish kids. We're all Everton fans. Wow. And in Ireland you wouldn't really see that, so when we're all there, we all have our jerseys. We'll have been to, say, Belfield when it was training and stuff like that, but we'd have all been to the mega store. We got our gear, and then we were back and we were out playing that. So it was always like that over the years. And then we for a large period of my life, it was David Moyes was the manager while we were in Goodison. So a lot of times when he came in, then we generally got a lot of good games of wins, but before that it wasn't necessarily the case.
Do you remember your first game?
Just about, yeah. It was Arsenal. I think it was April in the season of 99-2000 over Mars. But it was just amazing, because obviously Arsenal was so good back then, you know. And they had some. I actually got a few games, whatever way. So they had a Junior Blues trip every year. So that was the trip where we all, once a season, would go over like that, you know. And my dad would go over separately with his mates and stuff like that, and go to other games. But as a collective, we would have always went over. So like that was the game, and you never knew what game was going to fall, because they were always kind of March or April sort of games. So it was always once a year around that, so February, March, April, in around that. And so the first one, and that's where the love of it came from.
I was going to say, because before you got over here for that game, what was like listen, got to go back, and it's obviously difficult to put yourself in that mind frame, but
I can remember
as a little toffee, your dad's obviously feeding, this is our club, this is what we do, and then the build up to coming over for that very first one, I guess the excitement would have been through the roof, and then walking up the steps and seeing Goodison Park for the first time. I mean, can you sort of remember that, or if not, just make it up and romanticise it?
I can't remember I know what you mean, because you see videos of kids these days, and you can see them all. I didn't really have that, but it was just the whole, because when we came over, it was always an experience. So from the get-go, you're going to the training ground, then you're going to the mega store first, so all that came first, then it would be the match and so on. But I still remember. I remember watching, because you see them on the TV, and then you're putting it to real life. And even back then, I know people say, TVs weren't great or whatever, but it was still decent enough quality. You see like Bergkamp and Overmars, and my first real football memory was watching the '98 World Cup. And obviously Holland were in that, and then you had Bergkamp and Overmars and Kluivert and so on and so forth, Amsterdam and all of these. But basically, I loved them in that term for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they were just amazing. So then to be able to go to my first Everton, and some of these players were obviously playing, and we had FIFA around that time. We had FIFA '98, so we were playing with Everton and all that type of stuff. So we had players like Mikel Madar and all that. I remember playing with these ones. So just when you bring it back, and it was just, we used to love it. Like, I just remember the feeling. We used to wake up really early for flights. and coming over and you had the buzz in your stomach and just coming over and then seeing it and all. So that's kind of more how I would have seen it. But every year it was like that. We were up early, we knew we were going, we couldn't sleep, we were so excited to come over, even though Everton weren't really that good at the time. But we were just so excited to come over because we met so many people who were happy to, because you couldn't get Everton tracksuits and stuff like that back in Ireland. You just couldn't get it. So when I come over and I'd be going back, and I know I'd be getting stick back at home, but I'm like, I'm the Everton fan here, me and my brother, so bring the stick on, do you know what I mean? School and all, because we were United and Liverpool and Arsenal, but I took pride in being the Everton fan, being the different one, if you know what I mean. Now, it was hard at times, but that kind of gradually grew better as time went on.
Right, obviously Everton are leaving Goodison Park very soon. If you want your little piece of Goodison Park, why not get one of these? Our mate Dave Kennedy makes these. This is my turnstile, my season ticket. The detail, the attention to detail is unbelievable. And every time I go in, I laugh because there is this bit here, that's paint missing at Goodison, and he's got it down to an absolute T. So if you're interested in keeping this as a sort of, a memory of Goodison Park as we leave it, get in touch with Day. You can email him on daykennedy29@hotmail.co.uk, or if you want to contact him, he's on Twitter as well, which is day_Kennedy1, and ask him about these models of the turnstiles. Whichever one is your turnstile, you're going to have your piece of Goodison Park. So if you fancy that, go and do it. The link is in the description. If you're looking back at Goodison at the moment and you're trying to think of the games, what would you say is your sort of best? Can you pick a best game?
Yeah, it might be a little bit embarrassing because it's one that kind of kept us up, but the one against Chelsea, when Pickford made that amazing save and Richarlison had the flare in his hand. Yeah. But there's different reasons behind why that was such a good game. Obviously, fans were going to the ground and the bus welcome, all that sort of stuff. There was that, but then there was just the importance of that game, and even the Pickford save, like he even still rates that as his best ever save, and the performance that day. But I also met Seamus after the game, and I'd go down to the taxi club and walk back up the road, and then he's driving down the road just past Stanley Park, and I'm coming up it, and he pulls in to talk to me after the game, after he's after captaining Everton in this huge game, and he doesn't even need to, he beeps the horn. I'm talking to him and his two daughters in the car, and that day, it was just such a perfect day. And he was like, the fact that he stops to pull me out, and so I'm like, who's beeping at me? And he stops to talk to you or whatever, and has that respect for you. And I was just like, that for me was just a perfect day. And the fact that it was so key to us staying up, because it was looking really ropey around that stage, and that was May 2022 or in around that time. Yeah. So that's probably, maybe that's the one, because it's a recent thing. A recent one, but then I've other, my dad's ashes are spread in Goodison, and we got to after the game, we actually had a derby game and we lost, I think it was 2-0 or 3-0. Suarez scored, Jack Rodwell got sent off. 2-0. Andy Carroll scored, and Dirk Kuyt missed a penalty. And after the game, Tim Cahill came over and met us and stuff like that, as we were kind of spreading the ashes and stuff like that. And he was chatting with us, so that was a nice memory. And then we played Stoke when Kevin Morales scored that really nice goal from the halfway line. And I actually had a bet on him to score first, so that was a cool one as well. And then after the game, we got invited in to see my dad's plaque, and we met some of the players. We met Fellaini, and we met Pienaar, Stephen Naismith, and we met Seamus for the first time. So him and his brother stayed and chatted with us, and I was a few other Irish friends of mine who came, so they all got to meet him, and he was only kind of breaking through at the time. We met Michael Owen as well, because he was playing for Stoke at the time, and we got to kind of meet Seamus. So we had some cool kind of memories over the years of that, so they kind of stand out.
You've had, obviously, over in Ireland, I mean, how difficult is it then being an Evertonian over there? Because obviously there is a lot of Reds, as you've said, there's United fans. We had Helger in and Chris from Norway, we were speaking to them, and they just openly called them the Red Shite. That's what they say, Norwegians. It was quite funny, but obviously loads of Reds in Norway and all that, and they a bit like you, puff the chest out. Yeah, loads of Evertonians, but there is loads of United, Liverpool. What's it like? Has it grown? Have you moved into different parts where there is more Evertonians, or are you still flying the flag, spreading the word?
I think there was an element, I hated them way more when I was a kid.
Right.
I think now that I know so many people through social media and stuff like that, I see more Everton, so I feel a bit more backed. You know what I mean? Okay, so whereas before,
you were swinging on your own.
Yeah, a lot of the time, and it was a lot more nasty. I felt growing up. I actually felt more so. These days, I have to keep somewhat of a neutral kind of hat on certain things, except for when we're obviously playing them and stuff like that. Yeah. But no, it's definitely there. But I feel we're more back now because of social media, you know, and I be around way more Everton fans now than I would have been maybe years ago. But my dad definitely infiltrated a hatred from a very early age, and we would have in our estate where we lived to be a lot of Liverpool fans, and they'd be giving us stick or whatever, because I suppose when I got into secondary school, Everton started doing well. We finished fourth. Moyes was kind of giving us steady, you know, European runs and stuff like that. So it was a good time around then. I was able to give a bit back then, you know, because we were getting results and we were beating them.
Finishing above them a few times as well. Yeah.
And even like Duncan Ferguson scoring the goal against United, and then we started kind of getting comfortable with beating them a bit more regularly, not totally regularly, but like that. And then with Liverpool and stuff like that. But I think a lot more of my friends who maybe support Man United or Arsenal, I was happier to see them win the league. Liverpool didn't win it, and they were happy to see us do well and beat the teams around them as well. So we kind of had that mutual thing.
That was all right. One other thing, you lived in Australia for a bit, didn't you? So obviously being that far away from Goodison Park, I'm guessing you're catching games on the telly. Did that make your longing to get to Goodison stronger, because it wasn't just, you weren't as close? I know you obviously live in an island, but you weren't as close, as it wasn't as easy, say. So it's a bit of a, 12,000 miles is a little bit more of a tricky thing to get to Goodison. So was that, watching it from that distance, making the heart grow fonder, if you like?
Yeah, definitely. I always kind of, even I moved to Canada and later on as well, I felt the same. I was like, if I moved here, how often would I get back? That's I did think like that. Yeah, I used to think like how often. And it helped because we were a bit better then, you know what I mean? So, I remember thinking, going like, if I, and I was like, I remember being in Canada thinking, because I used to get over every year, but then when I was there, I was like, I'm not going to get it over, and I used to kind of pride myself in getting over at least once a year, you know. Whereas at that stage I couldn't. When I was in Canada, I had 2 years, so I didn't get over for the 2 years. So then when I got back, I came back in the March, and that was actually the first time I came into you lads. And I surprised my mum and stuff, and she went over for that game. We beat West Brom, I think it was 3-0. And so I was so itching to get back to that, and then there was just so much to it and everything like that. So it definitely pulled at the heartstrings there, going, you want to stay here, but do you want to miss that? And the time difference, as you say, it was tough. That's why I always say you guys were brilliant for that. Like, if you missed anything, you just go back and listen to the final word, and it was amazing like that. You wouldn't miss anything. So it was great to keep up on stuff, and that's probably how I became a big fan and here. It's full circle.
Lovely words. Finally then, obviously, I know you've gone down, had a look. You haven't been in the stadium. You've gone to have a look at, obviously, Everton's new stadium. How excited are you to get in there for next season? And what do you think that can sort of do for Everton? Because as much as we do love Goodison, and it is an unbelievable place, and it will be so strange going to this new place, and that's where we watch our football for the first few games. Are you excited to move to the new place? And what do you think it can do for us? Or are you dreading leaving Goodison Park?
I'm not dreading. I think there's a right time for things, and I think this is the right time. It is sad, as I say. Like, I have unbelievable memories there that I'll never forget, and times I'll never forget, and friends I'll never forget that I met there, and and even the tradition of maybe before games, after games, that type of stuff of Goodison, that'll obviously change when we move stadium. It'll be a new tradition, which is like, but I think as human beings we don't like change that much in terms of, if we have a tradition, we like to stick to it. Now we'll be forced to make a new tradition, and that's fine. It's not really, it's not a negative. I'm excited. I was at Spurs a couple of weeks ago and I saw their stadium and I saw it full, and the atmosphere was unbelievable in it, and just everything was just unbelievable. I was down at our stadium yesterday. I couldn't really get a good look at it from the wall and stuff like that, but yeah, I'll be looking to get in there as soon as I can. Like as soon as the fixtures are announced, I'll be looking. Whether it's the first game I may not get into, but the second I'll be there, so I don't have to say I was at the first game in Bramley-Moore. Once I get there, that's enough for me. And look, I've got great memories, and thankfully my brother now starts getting over to more games with me now, so we keep that tradition going, and I know my dad would be delighted with that. We just, Everton's a huge part of my life, and always will be. It's always football, as you know, Everton will always just be a huge part of my life. That's why it's been tough the last number of years that we haven't been good. Because you can never go away from supporting them.
No, you can't just switch off.
So, and that's why I love coming in and seeing you guys. And sometimes it feels like therapy, as I said to you before. Like when we come in and we chat, but how good is it going to be now when we have a new ground, new players to add to what we have, and maybe hopefully pushing on and getting some good results and making some iconic and historic moments going forward. That's in an ideal world what we want.
Paul, brilliant. Thank you very much. There you go. Make sure you like and subscribe. Put some comments there about what your favourite memories of Goodison Park will be. Are you ready to move to the new stadium? Make sure you check out Paul's channel, Irish Football Fan TV. Give him a subscribe on there. Thanks for watching. See you later.